Give me a little intro there, Gomer.
There's no turning back now.
Let's put on the show.
You're listening to the Station 71 podcast. My name is Mario, and this week I'm joined by my co-hosts,
Beth,
Brian,
and Kirsten.
So we've got a lot of ground to cover in our news this week. So let's just dive right into that, and we'll go from there. Looks like in one big shot we have a whole bunch of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway news in preparation for the launch of the attraction. First thing that we've got going on there is that the Star Wars stage show is now removed. There's been additional signage popping up for the Fast Pass entrances. Lots of like visual work around the Chinese theater is starting to finally pop up since the release or the opening of the ride is coming up. Lots of exciting things on the visual front of the Chinese theater.
It looks so nice to be able to see it without that stage in the way.
that stage was so... sorry, Mario, half I have to say it like that. I don't think there's any other way to describe that.
Yeah. I mean, that whole show was half
My cast member friend wrote it already on it during a preview, and she said it was really cool. So that's all I know.
I've been hearing lots of good, reviews coming from it from the people that got to do it early. So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of cast members with their preview tickets posting online, and it's been really cool to kind of follow that along and see like what everyone's saying about it. Obviously, they can't say much, but like everyone's been super positive about it. So next thing that we have in terms of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway stuff is the photo ops for a couple of the shorts are going to be popping up around the studios as well. It looks like Potato Land, Yodelberg, Pandemonium, and just says and more. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. I'm all for a good photo op, and it's probably a good idea to get people excited for this attraction. So on top of that, there's also the Mickey and Minnie's Trivia Time coming to the Disney Parks Play app. Another trivia edition coming as well. So get your Mickey and Minnie themed trivia ready for this.
Stop trying to make play happen. That's how I. Sorry,
I feel like
obviously
every
I'm sick.
time we have a news topic.
Obviously, I'm sick. Everybody, I don't have a voice really, so that's why I sound like a man.
You have one, you just sound like a smoker.
I know. It was way worse Friday and yesterday.
Oh gosh. And then the last Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway news bit that we have is that the merchandise has started popping up on the Shop Disney app. Looks like we're getting some new themed earbands, magic bands, some sweaters, pins, the usual.
As they do.
Did any of this like stick out to you guys? None of this was like particularly like I need to have that to me, so that's the reason I was asking. I think the train mug is kind of cute, but like other than that,
a lot of the stuff's cool, but at the same time, I don't ever feel like I buy the merchandise for like the new rides. It's usually the ones that I know that I really like. So
yeah.
But I do like the designs on this stuff. The sweatshirt's pretty cool looking.
That train whistle. Did y'all have those train whistles as a child?
Oh yeah.
I'm glad that those were not available when we were there because my child would have one.
It's good to know that like toy manufacturers still have not like learned to just not make kids toys that make a bunch of noise.
Mm-hmm. The ear hat ornament, I'm excited for that because I couldn't find, like I could I barely found any ear hat ornaments whenever I was there. And I also didn't see any of the shoe ornaments. Are they like done with those?
The shoe ones have been hard to find for a while. I know Andy's sister collects them, and last time we were there, we could only find the ones that she already had, and we asked a cast member, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I haven't seen new ones of those in a while."
I guess those are done, but I'm glad the ear hats are still there because I just felt like there weren't very many.
Did you go to any of the Christmas stores?
Yes. I went to both Christmas stores.
Really? Because I normally see a bunch of those. Maybe I just get lucky.
Yeah, we went in downtown Disney. I mean, they had a few, but it was like the normal ones that I've seen for like ever. I felt like there wasn't anything new, and it was definitely not near as many as there used to be.
Yeah, that was the problem that we had too. It was like, it was all the ones that we had already seen, and the selection was like so much smaller than I'm used to seeing with those things. I also sent this article in there as well. They started putting the merchandise location outside of the attraction now too. So this is another one where you will exit through the gift shop.
So wait, let me see this. But it's an outside stand where they're actually selling it?
It looks like a merchandise kiosk.
Huh.
I honestly, I had this moment where, as much as I love the Great Movie Ride, I cannot remember how the exit went. And I know there wasn't a store there, but I also feel like they probably didn't have much room to put a store. So this is like,
Yeah, you just walked out into the open. Like there wasn't really an exit. It was just like 4 sets of big double doors, kind of like Fill Our Magic or something. And then you were outside.
Okay, that's exactly what I thought it was. So maybe that means that they kept a lot of the inside similar. I don't know. I guess we'll see in a couple days when this opens. So moving away from Runaway Railway, we have to talk about this briefly before we get onto our big news topic this week. The Pin Central was removed at Epcot. We kind of talked about this last week, but it's gone. The whole structure is gone now. So rest in peace, Pin Central.
It was definitely there when I was there, and they were still selling stuff.
Well, they sold right up until the last day that they put the walls up.
Yeah, because I think you went the weekend before I went, and when I went, it was not selling anything.
I saw videos of them like loading things up on like on the carts to move them out of Pin Central. So like they definitely were selling things right up until the last minute, which is kind of crazy. Like I don't know. I like the fact that pin collecting is still like a big thing, or at least a semi big thing. And I liked that there was this like right in the center of Epcot. This was right there. You could walk right up to it. But I feel like it deserved more than just like a little kiosk.
Yeah, but there was something kind of quaint about it, you know? It had been there for so long for all the big pin traders.
Yeah. And it was also a lot nicer when like you could walk up and they had the places for you to open the books and trade from there from. Like it was very much worn from being there for so long.
The last time I went, I did get a chance to go to the new actual pin store at Epcot. And I know it's new and they're probably still kind of like getting everything set up with it, but I was a little bit disappointed just because, I don't know, it's not anything like the one at Downtown Disney. And it's one of those where, yes, the main focus is on pins, but they're also selling a bunch of other just like random merchandise in there too. So I don't know. I kind of wish there were more pin stores like the one at Disney Springs, or even kind of like Frontier Trading Post in Magic Kingdom.
Well, and even the one in Disney Springs is kind of like moving away from pins right now. The last time I was there, they had a whole wall of like Funko Pops.
Yeah, and they have magic bands in there now too.
Oh gosh, it's like the collectible store is what it kind of ended up as.
I'm kind of okay as long as it's that same kind of collectible stuff. But like the new one at Epcot is also just selling other like random Disney merchandise that's not even like magic bands or Funko Pops or anything else that's collectible. So
yeah,
that's what bothers me.
I can see that, and I'm totally in agreement with that too. Like it feels weird how they've transitioned from pins to not being just pins. So big news story time, I guess. As of February 25th, Bob Iger has stepped down effective immediately and was replaced with Bob Chapek as the CEO of the Disney company. Where do we even begin with this one?
I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. Because everything that I've read about Bob Chapek makes me feel like he's even worse than Bob Iger.
Well, okay. I feel like a lot of the stuff that we on this podcast blamed Iger for was probably his fault. So
I mean, it's definitely I get that Bob Iger isn't actually the person making all those decisions or wasn't, but I feel like it's, again, the culture that he cultivated, and I feel like Bob Chapek is part of that culture for sure. I'm just hoping that with him in charge of the whole company, his focus will be on, movies and Disney Plus and whatever, and somebody, whoever ends up in charge of parks specifically, can maybe, I don't know, fight for people like us.
So before we dive into like our big thoughts and feelings, because I know we're going to head that way, let's talk about how weird the timeline of events for this was. Because I feel like the whole hour and a half after, technically Kirsten was the first person that told us after all that happened, I feel like that was just one big whirlwind. Like, it was so crazy.
Yeah, well, so I work in finance, so we have TVs going all day with CNBC and that sort of thing on there, just watching the markets and Market Watch and all the shows like Mad Money. So that's how I saw it, because it was a scroll on the bottom of CNBC, like Bob Iger steps down effective immediately, and the stock, they did it right as the market closed. So the stock started dropping after the close. That's the only reason that I knew about it.
But it was crazy because you said something to us, and then like not even a minute later, like all of these news stories started popping up. But then at the same time, Disney also had a shareholders call at 4:30 that same day, I think. Which was very bizarre. Is Beth still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Because I wanted to call you out specifically because both of us sat on that call and we listened to like how weird that was. Did you get that weird vibe from that too? That it felt very
shady.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like they had several questions and gave the same answer to every single one. It was just like, why now? And they're like, because. Okay, so talk us through the process. Well, we were just really fortunate that Bob Chapek already worked for Disney. Next question. I was just like, can we get like a real answer here? It felt very like they're just trying to divert the conversation to where they wanted it to be instead of actually giving real answers.
I got that same like dodgy feeling, and it was very bizarre because like of all the questions asked, like you said, it was like they gave the same answer. It was very like formatted, and then like even the ones that sounded interesting, they were super dodgy on. Like you had mentioned the one about them vetting outside candidates, I think, in our group chat, and they like glanced right over that.
Yeah, the way I interpreted that, I actually took several notes, and what I have here is someone from Wells Fargo asked to talk us through the board's process of reviewing internal and external candidates, and literally they said, we're really fortunate to have Bob Chapek, who knows the company so well, and the board did their due diligence conducting a thorough search, but we were fortunate to have him as such an experienced candidate. So to me, that read as like, we didn't actually consider anybody external.
Do y'all listen to calls like that, like regularly?
Only when I'm allowed on the Disney shareholder call.
Pretty much,
because I'm not a shareholder.
Pretty much just every once in a while I'll tune into a Disney one.
Okay. And it seemed weird. I mean, because I listen to calls periodically, and they're always, with smaller companies, it's easier to get away with spontaneity, but big companies, I feel like it's always just formatted and they're not going to tell you, you're not going to learn shit, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, makes sense because they're not going to just show you the cards. Like, they have to keep some of their business processes behind closed doors. And I get that. But it's just weird when, like, an announcement of somebody stepping down effective immediately is just not something that happens every day, I don't think. And I feel like the people that really wanted that information were the ones that they kind of like should have been catering to, I guess. It's just, I don't know. There's a lot of a lot of things that they could have answered that they just didn't, I guess. But the thing is I feel like it was definitely pre-planned on top of the fact that like they had that call scheduled. They also had a news thing on one of the networks that Disney owned, probably ABC, I think, scheduled like right after that too. So there was no way this wasn't planned. It was just how they announced it that feels very bizarre, I guess.
It does seem kind of weird though, because everybody's known for years that, that Iger was stepping down and he's even been postponing it. So I don't really get why they kind of announced it so suddenly like this when it was kind of in the back of everyone's mind for a while.
So my theory, and I take this for whatever it is because I know nothing. We talked about this before. Like, there had to be a financial reason that Iger was staying on. There was no doubt in anyone's mind that he was staying on for bonuses or to see projects through. And with all of the Fox merger stuff with Disney Plus and all that, like, finally done. I think we mentioned before his probable next big bonus would be parks related, and that would have to be the 50th if they're doing anything major for it. Well, now with the coronavirus shutting down their overseas parks, like at this point, it's probably minimal amounts of money that he's going to be seeing in compared to what he was processing. My thought is it's definitely something money related, and he's stepping down as CEO just because he's not going to get that big of a bonus anymore.
Yeah, makes sense.
But again, just a theory. I know nothing about how that works, so.
Yeah, I've also heard like rumblings of maybe he has a something health related that made him want to step down.
That's possible.
But obviously nothing confirmed there, just the rumor mill churning.
Yeah. And the other thing too is that he's not leaving the company yet. He's staying through like this year on a creative spectrum. And they even said on the call, the reason for immediate and now is that he wanted to hand over the day-to-day stuff and focus more on the creative side, which, like, I guess I get. I've never really gotten a creative vibe from him, but sure.
I don't know. I mean, it does make sense because one of the things that they talked about was that they already had like a major restructuring of the company after the Fox merger and with the implementation of Disney Plus. So that most of the heavy lifting is kind of done and they just have to refine it at this point. It just seems like, I don't know, I guess sudden, like, I guess that's, like you said, it's kind of, it makes sense in the way that it's better to do it when there's not really anything going on so that he can have a chance to kind of guide Chapek through the day-to-day while it's more or less slow happenings.
And kind of an interesting thing to note too is like you got to kind of look at how Disney has handled this changeover in the past, and it's really been that they haven't. Because if you think about it, when Iger took over, Michael Eisner was like kicked out of the Disney company.
Right.
So really now it's like a good time for them to have him walk Chapek through all of the day-to-day stuff, so to speak, and like put it through.
You're right. This has kind of been like the first smooth handover in CEO changes.
Which is really weird to think about because like
how long the company has been in operation.
Yeah.
I suppose time will tell. But should we talk about the bad omens that came shortly afterward, though?
I was just about to say something about that. So here's the thing. I want to point this out before we even dive into that. I think it's funny how they handle this because they still haven't announced who's taking over in Chapek's role. No one said anything about who's taking over for the parks. And nothing but like bad things have happened in the park since he stopped.
Because nobody's running them.
Yeah, like that's the funny thing. It's like
he like moved into the CEO position and everybody's just like flailing.
It is literally like that community gif that goes around all the time with Donald Glover and the pizzas. That is literally what's happening in the Disney parks right now.
Oh man.
But so what even happened? I think the first thing was the Jungle Cruise boat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Jungle Cruise boat sunk, and then we had it crash on the People Mover.
Oh man.
I just think that's wild. Has the Jungle Cruise ever had an incident like that before? At least not that one that was as publicized as this one.
Didn't somebody say there was one like back in 2004 or something?
I think so. I think I saw that too. I mean, I can Google it.
I've also heard that it was a publicity stunt to stir up adventurous news about the Jungle Cruise movie that comes out in July.
That might be
Although
a
I
little
don't
bit of
feel
a
like,
stretch.
yeah, I was like, I don't feel like that would be the best press to promote a movie.
Oh man, I love looking at the pictures of this and like seeing that the immersion is kind of lost when you realize how shallow the actual river in the Jungle Cruise is.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite thing that came out of that was that somebody tweeted that they've finally been able to actually like fulfill the joke of, and if you don't like my jokes, like I'm your swimming instructor.
Oh my gosh.
I forget how it was worded, but I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Apparently a boat did sink in 2004 too. I just looked it up and there's like 3 threads on the Diz boards about it.
Gotcha.
I would have loved to have been on this boat just because I want to see how the skipper would have had to react to this.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah. I want to know what all the guests got. Obviously, they had to give them like new clothes, right? Like those shoes were wrecked.
I mean,
Well, new shoes
at
probably.
least, yeah. And then like, what even happened with the People Mover? Because I don't think we got the full story on that.
I didn't even read any more about it.
It was one of the ones that was being serviced, right? It had pulled off the service track and somehow it came back onto the normal track and hit it.
Oh no, did the People Mover cone get injured?
It doesn't look like this has any like details on what exactly happened. This article that I just found. I just think it's funny that the article that I first saw it reported from was Sorcerer Radio. And apparently that's who like broke the news story that there was a collision, and then everybody on the People Mover was evacuated.
According to this one that I'm seeing, it just says that one of the trams hit the tram in front of it. So apparently it was just 2 that were already on the track. Wow.
Either way, it's very bizarre that the head of parks and entertainment has left for another role, and now all of the parks are like burning to the ground.
I'm just saying, don't bad things come in threes? Like, what happens next?
Oh no.
We'll keep on the lookout for another incident. Hopefully not, but you know.
Well, I mean, I guess maybe the Rise of the Resistance thing that I talked about earlier, maybe that's the third.
Well, that's
TLDR,
true.
Apparently extended downtimes caused Rise of Resistance to close hours early today. At like 5:30, they decided to shut the ride down because of extended downtime.
What a bummer. I am like continually thankful that that was not my experience, because I've heard so many bad stories about like having like getting a boarding pass and then never getting to ride, or getting a boarding pass and only getting to do like the first half and getting evacuated. And I just feel like that would totally ruin the whole experience.
Yeah.
I'd rather not ride it than have to evacuate, I'll tell you that.
Or like miss a section of the show just because it's not working properly.
Right. I want the full experience.
Yeah.
So I'm like nervous to go back. I don't want it to, I want it to live up to the expectation that I've already had like formed in my head. But we'll see.
So before we dive into our actual topic this week, does anybody have anything they want to say about the big news with Bob Iger leaving before we sign off on this?
I know that everyone's kind of shaky on this right now, but I do think that it's good just the fact that they promoted somebody that was head of parks into the CEO position, and that at least there should be a focus still on parks because of that.
Here's another thing too, to your point. A lot of the stuff that people say is Chapek's fault, I guess probably to run through them real quick. Entertainment cuts, the Tomorrowland Cabanas, a lot of that like plus up stuff without adding anything to guest experience. That stuff happened because he was in the focus of the parks. And I think now it's good because, like they said on the call, he's going to have more hands-on in the day-to-day stuff. So if they put somebody in that's got more of a focus on the parks and is going to try to put more like into the guest experience, that could be a good thing too. So I guess to remember, like, you know, maybe we blamed him for all this stuff and that's because he was in that seat, but now he's not. So maybe we'll get someone that cares more.
Yeah, I'm reserving judgment till we hear who takes over, and I don't know. We'll see.
I also want to say there's no way, and I'm saying this now, and if it happens, I will be very shocked. There's no way that Joe Rohde's taking over.
No.
Yeah, I don't see it happening.
I don't think he would even want that job.
That.
I don't think that fits his personality at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It sure would be great, though.
I've seen so many people that are like, oh yeah, Joe Rohde should take over. He's the only one that can save us now. I'm like, yeah, but he's too much of a free spirit for that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you put him in a corporate role like that. Come on.
The earrings got to come out. That and
is he really Joe Rohde without the earring?
No.
Nah.
So 2 things in housekeeping before we proceed with our topic this week. We have a very exciting and special interview coming up for next week's episode. And since this comes out on Thursday, we're recording it on Sunday. Very off of our schedule these last couple weeks. So we're trying to keep it as vague as possible.
We don't want to ruin the surprise.
Yes. I'm going to try to tease it on social media this week. I don't know if you've started to do any of that, Beth, because I know you've kind of like taken over that.
I have not
role.
yet.
But I have some like cropped images that may give it away, but may also be fun if everybody tries to figure out who it is. I'm very excited for this.
Me too.
So send us your questions if you have any idea on who it might be, and can figure it out from the clues of the internet, or if you just have some general questions that you want us to ask this mysterious person that will be on our show next week. That may also be fun.
A really vague hint is that you're definitely going to want to listen to the interview.
Oh, that was so vague. That is actually very painfully vague. And then we also want to talk about briefly, we missed our Disney Plus Watch Club this last month. We decided on a movie, and it's just a little hard for us to sometimes meet that extra time. So we've decided to kind of move it back and do every other month. That'll give a lot more people time to watch the movie, and then at the same time, it'll give us time to actually coordinate it a little bit better. If you listen to, I think it was last week's episode or the episode before that, when we talked about it, the movie for this month is going to be the Disney Channel original movie, Smart House, right? That was the one we decided on?
Yes.
So watch that. We're going to determine with everyone when would be a good date. That way we can kind of like plan it around everyone's schedule, because it won't be fun if we're all just here talking about the movie by ourselves. So yeah, that'll be fun. And hopefully we'll be able to like actually plan that a little bit better.
Yeah, and that's a good decom. I'm excited.
Me too. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Beth, since this is your half of Future World this week.
Yes, my currently much bigger half. So obviously last episode we did kind of a walkthrough / history of Future World East. This week we're going to do a walkthrough / history of Future World West. There's a lot of history here, so hopefully we'll be able to squeeze it all into the remaining time that we have. But without further ado, going by this map, the most recent map anyway, we're going to start at the Imagination Pavilion. Of course, I feel like everyone constantly hears about how good the original Journey into Imagination is, so we're just going to start there. The original attraction opened in 1983. It was an 11-minute attraction with omnimovers floating through the clouds. You would meet Dreamfinder and Figment along the way. The whole ride kind of themed around imagination as a whole, going through different series of rooms devoted to arts and literature and science. It was a very whimsical attraction. If you didn't ride it or you've never seen a ride through of it, you should definitely check it out, because it will definitely give you perspective as to why it was such a beloved attraction. Fortunately, which closed in 1998 for a major refurbishment and to journey into imagination with Figment. So
Before you go into that, we can talk about the little trivia bit that Joe Rohde has played Dreamfinder multiple times, actually. And the picture of him.
Oh, wow.
Did you guys not know that?
No.
Oh, I should have asked you that as a question and then like played it off. Let me see if I can find the picture.
In what capacity?
So when the attraction opened, he did a I'm gonna get this so wrong, and somebody's gonna be so mad at me for saying this wrong. So he did video work for a film that was in the Magic Eye Theater, I believe, before they put Magic Journeys in there. And then in the exit, you know how there's the ImageWorks pavilion in there now, the one at the end of the last ride, or the first iteration of the ride, was much bigger. And there was a video called Dreamfinder School of Drama, which was like a green screen attraction that guests could like perform things in front of like a green screen. And let me see, I actually have the videos on YouTube of that, but I sent the video of Joe Rohde dressed as Dreamfinder in the group chat. It's pretty great.
Oh, wow.
This video that I sent is the ImageWorks film, the one that I just mentioned, and it's the Imagineers testing it, and it's really funny to watch now because the green screen technology is so bad by today's standards. See if I can find the one point that's... Here you go. Start from this... Oh, no, that's not the one I wanted. That's the same video. I clicked the wrong thing. That one should do it. Now that there's 3 videos of Joe Rohde dressed as Dreamfinder in our private chat.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, that is some bad green screen effect right there.
But at the same time, this was also like years old at this point. Anyway.
That's so funny. I wonder, did they have to like tie his ear up? Or did he have it at that point?
Did he have it?
I don't know.
I don't think it was to the full Joe Rohde ear at that point.
Yeah, that would make sense. After the beloved version, Journey into Imagination, shut down in 1998, reopened in 1999 as Journey into Your Imagination. And basically the premise of this one was featuring Dr. Nigel Channing, who was in Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, the 3D movie that we'll get to in a little bit. The guests would go through a scanner, and the scanner determined that they had no imagination. Dr. Channing would put the guests through different labs based on the five senses. Sound, these are not the five senses. Sound, illusion, color, gravity, and connections. Eventually, you would go through all of these weird tests, and at the end, you would go through the scanner again and determine that all of this has reinvigorated your imagination, and it was just not the original attraction in any way. Figment was very sparingly portrayed in this one. Dreamfinder was completely removed. There was a lot of negative reaction because of this, and just 2 years later, the ride was once again refurbished due to such negative response. Now, I know that you neither. Well, actually, Brian, did you ever ride the original one? Because I know you've been going to Disney for a while.
I may have, but I definitely don't have any recollection of doing it as a child.
Do either of you remember the second iteration?
I definitely do not. That was not something I ever rode. I've
Yeah.
seen ride-throughs, and it's very bad.
Yeah. Would you say I never rode the first or the second one? I've only watched a ride through of the first one. Do you think that the second one or the current one is worse?
So from my feelings, I have this weird attachment to the iteration that's there now, so I'm not going to say that that's bad, but I think at least this one doesn't insult the guests, and that's where the second one really goes wrong.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, like I said, due to overwhelmingly negative response, it was renovated again, and Figment did return as the main character this time, but was a prankster, less of an imaginative, literal figment of the imagination, more of a prankster who takes over a tour that Dr. Channing is giving of the Imagination Institute. This time, the tour takes riders through rooms actually based on the five senses, and Figment takes over in each room, causing different shenanigans in each one. At which point, Dr. Channing ultimately decides that imagination should be set free and joins in the antics and appears as a nightmare fuel version of the moon, while the famous song One Little Spark returns to the attraction. Unfortunately, Dreamfinder was not brought back for this version, although I don't know if I would necessarily want him in it anyway, but there is one small little Easter egg in the first showroom, a door that says Dean Finder. So there's a little, at least paying a little respect to him there. Also, another little fun fact is that I read that the skunk smell is supposedly burnt coffee, but I've smelled burnt coffee before.
That does not smell like
and it does not smell like that. So, you exit Imagination into ImageWorks, the What If Labs, where there's a series of different interactive exhibits. In my opinion, this is completely skippable. There's like a computer thing where you can make your own version of Figment, almost like a digital coloring book, and other weird things based on the five senses.
I
just
have you been to it lately?
I have not been to it lately.
Lately, it's all character meet and greets, but
I was about to say they've taken most of that out.
Okay, so that's where that went. Yeah, I actually haven't been into this pavilion in probably 2 years.
So the first one they moved in was Ralph and Vanellope because they put that the tunnel in there, and I think Sadness meets in there now, and
Joy, not Sadness. I did know that there were meet and greets. I just wasn't sure where they were.
Yeah, they're all in here, which is really weird.
Yeah. Okay, so all of those dumb exhibits are gone then?
No, well, I think they're all still there. They just like crammed the meet and greets in.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I'm not sure. I went in there last time we were in Epcot, but I don't remember seeing any of the like Sense exhibits. Just the meet and greets. But I might have missed them. I didn't do any of them, so I couldn't tell
Honestly,
you.
that room is just so like
Tragic.
like you said, skippable. It feels weird and dated, and I'm pretty sure the last time I was there, all of the Build a Figment things had like the Windows 98 lock screen on them. So
oh, good. Awesome.
not
Well,
like-
they upgraded them to 98, huh?
Wow. Give me just a sec. I'm going to turn this fan on because it gets really hot upstairs.
I guess the other thing that we can talk about while you're rummaging through or you're stepping away is that the upstairs, which used to have the old ImageWorks in it, is now a DVC lounge.
Yeah, I noticed when I walked in there that it had the little sign up.
It's actually been a DVC lounge for a while, but like it's gotten, I think with the construction, they're trying to advertise for it more as like a place for people to go and cool off. It's weird because it's like the coolest thing is you get a nice view over Epcot. They have freestyle Coke machines up there too. So like free Coke is pretty cool. But it's really just like a place that's got couches and like outlets and stuff where people can like hang out and kick back.
I would imagine that being DVC and paying like thousands of dollars a year, the least they can do is give you some free Coke.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
you know.
think. Yeah, here's the thing that I've heard that's like, I am kind of upset about this. Apparently, the actual like the Rainbow Tunnel and everything is still up there. Like a lot of the actual older attraction is still just behind walls. So it's weird that they like just cut out ImageWorks and they're like, here's the DVC lounge that's gonna go where all of this other interactive stuff used to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you can very easily find pictures of it online. See if I can find them actually. Oh yeah, look at that. That was very easy. I like I said, the view of it's the coolest thing. There are the freestyle Coke machines, which is neat, but otherwise, like there's printers and computers and stuff for you to use. And
when do you ever need to use a printer when you're inside the parks? It seems like such an odd thing to offer to guests.
I also like that they put Wi-Fi as a feature, as if the entire park doesn't have Wi-Fi.
I mean, it's actually really, it does look very nice. I just don't necessarily think I would want to use it that much. Like, I would probably run up there, grab a Coke, and then take it with me as I walked around the park.
Yeah.
I think, like I said earlier, I think now is probably the time that they're going to start pushing for stuff like this because the park is so weirdly congested and laid out very weird. I don't know. I think that's what it's going to end up being more for.
Yeah, that makes sense. It does say that you can bring up to 5 guests, so I guess you don't technically need to be DVC. You just need to know someone who is.
Yep. That's.
I would totally. I was about to say I wouldn't mind checking it out if I knew anybody that was DVC member. But.
Oh, I'm sure it wouldn't be that hard if any of our listeners are DVC and wants to get you up into the Imagination Lounge. Shoot us an email.
Yeah, hit me up. Also, I like meeting people, so I wouldn't mind hanging out at the parks. But anyway, continue our tour to where the public actually can go without being a DVC member, which is right next door to the Magic Eye Theater, which originally hosted Captain EO, another thing that I never saw but should have, which was a 3D science fiction film starring Michael Jackson and written by George Lucas, which I did not know. And in addition to 3D, it utilized special effects like lasers and smoke effects that extended into the audience. This film actually cost $30 million to produce, and at only 17 minutes long, it was the most expensive film ever made on a per minute basis at the time. It cost about 1.76 million per minute to make.
That's crazy.
So, fun fact, as of February 2016, this is the most recent data I could find. This title was now held by Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, which was $2.76 million per minute.
Can I stop you and fact check you for a second?
Yeah.
So apparently, well, not apparently, Captain EO was actually not the first movie that was in there. There was a movie in there called Magic Journeys. Which it opened, weirdly enough, before Imagination did. It was in the Magic Eye Theater on opening day, and it was also in Disneyland too at the same time. Captain EO replaced both of them. But the plot of Magic Journeys is that you're seeing the world through the eyes of a child. It's actually really weird, like very weird and trippy, and it's really cool, but very classic Epcot. And best of all, it features 2 songs by the Sherman Brothers. So, yep.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad that you stopped me. I did not, I wasn't alive in 1986, so all I could do is rely on the things I find on the internet.
Well, the only reason I know about this, obviously, I wasn't alive either, but
right.
The Magic Journey song is actually really good, and it Making Memories and I think Magic Journeys are both on like the official the Disneyland and Walt Disney World albums. And I heard Magic Journeys, I think was the first one. And I was like, where was this even from? And Making Memories feels like it's straight out of like Carousel of Progress and Horizons. So very much fits with the time.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll have to check that out. So back to Captain EO. It closed in 1994 and was replaced by a new 4D show, Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, which was obviously a spinoff of the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids franchise. The theater, they made it gimbal mounted so that it would shake and rock. In addition to other special effects in the theater, it gave the audience a full immersive experience, such as leg ticklers under the seats to simulate mice running by. I very vividly remember this as a child and being extremely freaked out by it. I was just absolutely blown away by that. I was convinced that it was actually mice. But this is also, now, this was one part that I didn't have enough time to look into but couldn't find. Is this where Dr. Nigel Channing originated, or was he in some of the films?
I think he was in this. Yeah, no, he was definitely in this, and that was where he came from.
Okay, that's what I thought. And that's where all the trouble started, huh?
Yeah.
But this show closed in 2010, and after Michael Jackson passed away, Captain EO Tribute was brought back to honor his death. And it didn't bring back all the original special effects and lasers that the first version of Captain EO did, but it did make use of some of the effects and hydraulics installed for Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, such as making the theater shake to mimic riding in a spaceship and making the seats bounce to the beat of songs in the film. After this one closed, it was replaced by the Disney and Pixar Short Film Festival, which is a 4D presentation of 3 Disney Pixar short films, which are currently Get a Horse, Feast, and Piper.
This is such a waste of space. I'm sorry. I know that I love the shorts, but I think they definitely are not using the space to its fullest capacity, and I think that nobody really goes to see the Pixar Short Film Festival. Like, I've never been
have
there.
Watch them at home. You don't need to watch them while you're in the parks.
The only thing that has made me consider it is the fact that it says it's a 4D presentation. So, like, I'm assuming, like, in Piper that maybe you'll get misted or water spray because it's, at the ocean. Do they have any scents incorporated? I that's the only thing, is that I'm kind of curious as to how they're incorporating the special effects with the shorts.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I also am not willing to take time out of my Disney day to do something that I could mostly watch at home.
I know it's been rumored for a while that Imagination is going to get a large overhaul, but I think after all of this Epcot's construction is done, I think this is where they really need to like focus in that energy. Like,
yeah, definitely.
At that point, they can shut down the pavilion and do the extensive work that they need to do on it. In all reality, the Pixar Short Film Festival is a really small footprint, but like I would much rather have a 3D movie like PhilharMagic or something else in there other than like shorts I could watch at home. Because like you said, there's no reason. Yeah. And I've never seen that crowded, so it can't be that like it's a demand for that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, moving on to the Land Pavilion, on the topic of things that you can watch at home and not have to take time out of your Disney day. We're going to start at the theater that is in the Land Pavilion, which now this could be also something that I didn't look far back into, but Circle of Life, an environmental fable, was the first, to my knowledge, film to be in there. Does anybody know anything to fact check me on that?
I do not know of anything that came before it.
2 seconds and I'll tell you.
It's a really lame excuse, but there's a lot of stuff in Future World West compared to the Future World East, so I was trying to touch on as much as I could in the amount of time that I had.
It really is. It's like a lot of smaller stuff like this.
Yeah, I didn't feel like that anyone would be too heartbroken if I didn't spend a whole lot of time on this theater.
I'm going to say no because I can't find anything, but also I really don't care because like
yes.
The only reason I had to call you on Magic Journeys was because like I actually kind of enjoy that.
Yeah. So Circle of Life, an environmental fable, was a film featuring Simba, Timon, and Pumbaa, themed around how everything is connected, obviously, in the Circle of Life, and how human development has impacted the environment negatively, and the ways that humanity is now trying to reverse that impact, which, not something that I, like I said, would have ever taken time out of my day, but I do appreciate the intent behind it, at least.
The intent, yes.
Yes, intent behind it. It was replaced.
I just don't like being guilted by my favorite Lion King characters.
True.
Oh, it was so passive aggressive.
I did actually watch a video of it, and it felt very guilted into being a human being, like the fact that I was a human. But this closed in 2018 to make way for a new film, which opened just this past January of 2020, called Awesome Planet. Kind of had the same theme. It's a film exploring wildlife and the different biomes on Earth, along with the threats that they face. However, it's narrated by the real estate agent character from Modern Family, which
Phil Dunphy.
I feel like was a really weird and forced.
He also did Colortopia too, which.
But it wasn't. But it was just him narrating it. It wasn't him saying, "Hey, I'm the guy from Modern Family," right? Like I am the character.
Yeah. Is that really like? That's very bizarre.
I didn't watch it, but I read about it on Touring Plans, which is a very reputable source of Disney information, and that it says, and I quote, "The film's fatal flaw is that it does not mention at all the root of the problems that we face, and what makes it more galling is that the film's script narrator Ty Burrell mimics his role as realtor Phil Dunphy from Disney's Modern Family television show. The film's premise is that you're looking for a planet to buy, and Phil is walking you through the benefits of Earth, including the use of the phrase location, location, location." This just sounds terrible to me. So, again.
Yeah, apparently nothing good comes in this theater.
So, okay, to make it worse, I found out what was in the theater before Circle of Life, that was bad. Before Circle of Life, It was a 70 millimeter film called Symbiosis that like no one reported on besides WDW News Today, and they called it incredibly boring.
Oh, good. So literally what Brian just said.
Yeah.
Funny. So moving on from there, we had in 1982 animatronic show Kitchen Kabaret, which was a show featuring the host Bonnie Appetit and anthropomorphized food items, performing songs advocating for healthy eating.
Well, have any of you actually like watched this show?
I did watch a video of it.
Would you? Because this is how I compare it. This is like the health food version of Country Bears.
I would say yes, but it's not as entertaining.
Yeah, I think the songs get stuck in your head a little bit more. Like, okay, Veggie Fruit is like the biggest earworm to come out of this.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think it definitely has that Country Bears vibe, so this would probably be right up your alley, Brian.
I'll have to check it out.
I will say though, I watched a video of Kitchen Kabaret and then also a video of Food Rocks, which was its successor, and I found Food Rocks to be much more entertaining.
Really? I feel the opposite every time I think about them.
Really? That's funny. So similar to Kitchen Kabaret, this show was themed as a rock concert for good nutrition and healthy eating, with human-like animatronics singing parodied songs from popular musicians in this version, such as "Every Bite You Take" by the Refrigerator Police. There's also a Cher parody, which Kirsten is gone now because she was losing her voice, but there's your Station 71 bingo item for the week. I never saw this in person, but I watched a video of it and it's so stupid. I love it. Like, it's so cheesy. This is what I would compare more to as the food healthy eating version of Country Bears.
That's fair.
Just because it's so, like, I feel like Kitchen Kabaret was actually trying to like do a thing, and Food Rocks was just trying to be absolutely ridiculous and funny. And
the funny thing about this is whenever I think about Kitchen Kabaret and like Food Rocks, like just from the videos I've seen, because obviously I didn't experience these, it's weird because like the Kitchen Kabaret animatronics look a little more better.
They definitely put more effort into the ones in Kitchen Kabaret.
Yeah, Food Rocks is like that stationary animatronic that was, I guess, most comparable to like Superstar Limo.
Yes, I would agree with that. It did seem like kind of thrown together, where, like you said, it's like just stationary with the mouth moving for some of them.
Yeah, and like wiggling. They move them side to side for like Fud Rapper moves a lot of like back and forth.
Yeah.
But then the other thing that I have an issue with before we move on is that when they do things that tie to like songs of the time, they risk them being dated very quickly. And I think that's where I think Food Rocks falls very short on.
Well, I would almost agree with you, but most of the songs that I feel like they use, while of course they are, more like classic rock or like songs of the time, they're still songs that are like well loved today. Like,
yeah, that's
one
true.
of the songs is based on Bohemian Rhapsody, which everyone literally knows now because of Bohemian Rhapsody, the film that came out recently. Everyone knows Every Step You Take by the Police. Like, it's still very easy to recognize songs, at least.
Yeah, and I also think that is a benefit of them putting this out in 94 when the songs that they chose were already, at this point, considered classic rock.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'll stop interrupting you.
Oh, no, that's fine. So while I was watching this is just my random fun fact. I know this isn't necessarily Disney related, but the host, Food Rapper, was the name of the host. It was voiced by an actual rapper named Tone Lock. And while I was listening to the video, I was just like, why does his voice sound so familiar? And it turns out that he's the voice of the lizard in Fern Gully as well. And, he sings that song like, if I'm gonna eat somebody. I just thought that was really funny. So I thought I'd throw that in there. But Food Rocks closed in 2004 and was shortly replaced by everyone's beloved Soarin', the original version anyway, which obviously is a hang gliding simulator with the best smells, which was unfortunately replaced with Soarin' Around the World, which is a hang gliding simulator with okay smells.
And the worst distorted images.
Oh, I still don't know how they haven't fixed this yet.
There is one good seat on Soarin' Around the World, and I will eventually talk about that, but not now because I will go on a tirade.
You'll have to tell me where this seat is so I can request it.
It's dead in the middle. That's the only place you can see it from.
On the top? Or just any
B.
row? So
row
you still
B
have
is your
feet.
best bet. Yeah, you still have feet, but if
but
you're
it's
in
still
the
best
the
best seat.
Yeah, so if you're in row B, you're in the middle row of the hang gliders, so it's less likely to be distorted. I can't remember the exact seat. I think it's B1.
Okay.
But there's one that's like perfect, and if you sit there, you don't actually get the distorted stuff.
It's pretty crazy that
for
one
all
person
other
gets to
100
experience
people
that.
on that at the same time. Yeah, exactly.
But I know I saw an article a little while back that was like Soarin' Over California is returning to Disneyland, and before I saw the Disneyland part, I was like, what? And then I was like, oh, okay, not us. That's fine.
So, all right, backtracking a little bit. It's B1. I had to look this up.
Okay.
It is B. That's the row that you want when you go, because that's the one section that doesn't get that weird distortion. The only problem is, it's such a small margin of seats, like you said. Everywhere else kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And the
It's
worst
like
one, if you're curious, is C3, because that's the one where you get all of the distortion.
Most, yeah.
Yes, I actually. So we wrote it 3 times last time we were down there, and I went online and like looked for the best seats and then requested them. And I tried this one, which is considered the worst one, and everything that everyone said is right. You still have the feet, you still have the twisted picture, and you also can see the edges of the screen and the person operating the ride.
Wow, you did some serious research on that trip.
Yes.
It was more consuming
at that
research.
point I was at that point I was very into reading the Disboard threads, and I found an article that was like best Soarin' seats, and I was like, oh, I should try that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's cool. That's good to know. So moving on from there, we have Listen to the Land, which is now Living with the Land. It's essentially the same concept, just the change of the name. And of course, they've done a few updates with the video footage and stuff like that, where you go through.
They removed the song.
The song?
Oh, man. Yeah, you're right. I went on that when I was at Epcot, and I didn't realize that until you just said it. But yeah, I do not remember the song being in there.
Which, Listen to the Land is like an Epcot bop. Like it's such a good song.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize either until you said it.
Wait, did I really just break this for you guys?
Yeah, it makes me sad. Man,
wow.
oops.
Okay, well, boo. Anyway, as anyone who knows, who's written this knows, this is going through different dioramas of different biomes of Earth's environment into working greenhouses, past labs, and fish farm, etc. I love this attraction, and when I was doing research, I found this little fun tidbit of information is that some of the animatronics were originally built for what was called the Western River Expedition, which was a never-built dark ride boat attraction in Frontierland. Did you guys go over this?
I think we actually did, because this was supposed to be our... Was this Haunted Mansion? No, this was Pirates. That's what it was supposed to be, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was I on that episode? Because I didn't remember this.
I think it was just me and Mario.
It might have been.
Which makes sense as to why I wouldn't remember it. But I thought that was really cool. That a little thing that I'd never known. And of course, Disney's use of making, I don't know, taking lemons and making lemonade, for lack of a better phrase. Of course, I would be remiss not to mention Behind the Seeds, which is also heavily linked to Living with the Land. And I think that everyone should do at least once, which is an hour-long tour of the greenhouses and the labs that you float past. It's currently $25 for adults and $20 for children. But according to the Walt Disney World official website, effective June of this year, it will become $29 per person. So it didn't specify, and I take that to be regardless of whether it's an adult or a child. It's going to be $29 a person now?
Honestly, that's still not bad for a tour.
It's not.
No. It was always just so cheap that it was so easy to recommend to everybody. Because, I mean, it's an hour, it's $20, you know, if you've got a AP, so it's like, yeah.
I think it's that even at $30, it's still worth it.
Oh,
yeah,
for sure.
Definitely. I would totally agree. And like Brian said, annual pass holder discounts will still apply. I believe DVC and Disney Visa card holders as well, if they keep with the past, because I know that those were offered previously as well. Also in the Land Pavilion, we have 2 restaurants. We have Sunshine Seasons, which is the quick service with several different stations to choose from, featuring different styles of food, as well as the Garden Grill, which has Chippendale's Harvest Feast. And Garden Grill is a family-style, all-you-care to enjoy table service restaurant, featuring a revolving view of living with the land and, of course, character dining with Chippendale. Now, I'm sure all of us have eaten at Sunshine Seasons. Have either of you had Garden Grill?
I haven't.
A very long time ago.
I keep meaning to. It's like on my list.
It's been a really long time, so I honestly can't speak to like that from my personal standpoint. But I remember it not being bad. I mean, I've said before, character dining is always like that hit or miss with food. Like you don't usually get good food at character dining because you're paying for the character experience.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember it was pretty good.
I like the idea of like sitting next to Living with the Land and seeing the different biomes. I feel like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it rotates, so like that's something that you really can't beat.
Yeah. So now we will enter into my favorite pavilion, the Seas.
The question is, are we entering through the gift shop or are we riding Finding Nemo?
Oh, he's making his own joke.
I have to. Someone's going to make it, so why can't it be me?
I actually made a mental note not to. I was like, I've made that joke enough. I don't want to keep dragging Mario with it, but you made it yourself, so.
We're all friends here.
Yeah. So in 1986, the Seas with Nemo and Friends is actually the official name of the pavilion, which I learned. I'm still going to call it the Seas because I'm not.
That's too long.
It's too long. And also, it's not just, I mean, yeah, it is Nemo themed, but it's not like, that's not all there is. But it was once known as.
From all the stuff that's there.
Yeah,
right, exactly. True. Which it was once known as the Living Seas Pavilion, which I think is way cooler. There was a movie called The Seas. Guests could take a hydrolator, which was kind of a glorified elevator that made you feel like you were going super deep down into the ocean, to Sea Base Alpha, and you could take a sea cab to tour through the aquariums in the pavilion, which those sea cabs closed in 2001, and the renovation started in 2003 to retheme to Disney Pixar's Finding Nemo, of course, which is the pavilion that we have to this day, and included the addition of a few new attractions. Unlike the Omnimover ride through the Living Seas, which provided a constant view of the aquarium habitats, the Seas with Nemo and Friends focuses on taking guests through mostly scenes featuring characters from Finding Nemo with short view into the aquariums at the end. Also, a fun fact that I learned is that this attraction opened before Finding Nemo the musical in Animal Kingdom, but the song had already been developed for the musical, which is why it's in there. Like, they took it from the musical that hadn't premiered yet, which I thought was interesting.
Huh.
That is interesting. I do vaguely remember it being there before, but I didn't even think about the fact that this song is in both, because at this point I just associate it with both of them.
Yeah, for sure. Also, we got Turtle Talk with Crush, which is an interactive show similar to Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor, where the audience can talk with Crush, and now also features characters from Finding Dory. We have Bruce's Shark World, which is a play area with some physical elements and also some kind of trivia, computer screens types of stuff. Then, of course, the aquariums, which is known as just Sea Base, which features a multitude of sea creatures like tiger sharks, stingrays, and my favorite, a green sea turtle. Smaller aquarium also houses rescued West Indian manatees, which are probably my other favorite in the seas. They're just so fun and stupid to watch. Giant, literal sea cows eating huge heads of lettuce. I love them so much. But the tours that you have available in here are Dive Quest, the Seas Aqua Tour, and Dolphins in Depth. Obviously, if you guys listened to the episode a while back from my trip report, 2 years ago now? Jeez.
It was a while ago.
Life happens fast. I've done Dive Quest. It's super awesome. I would highly recommend it if you have your scuba skirt. I would highly recommend it if you have your scuba certification. But from what I understand, the Seas Aqua Tour and Dolphins in Depth are kind of similar. Seas Aqua Tour is more so because you actually snorkel in the aquarium. Dolphins in Depth, I believe you're kind of in a shallow area of it and you meet and greet with the dolphins. But I would love to do that as well.
I've heard really good things about the Aqua Seas tour. I haven't done it. I had the chance to do it, but I didn't, and I'm still kicking myself for that.
Aww.
But I heard a lot of really good things about it.
Nice. So in the Seas, we also have the Coral Reef Restaurant, which is a table service restaurant, obviously seafood heavy. Features a big glass wall, which offers views of the aquarium while guests are dining. And my little fun treat here was that during Dive Quest, we got to swim by the big wall, and kids were like super excited about it and like waving at us. Like, I felt a little bit like a celebrity, even though I was just literally swimming by.
It feels so wrong to eat there.
Yeah, because you're eating seafood next to fish.
A giant glass aquarium.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, with all of that being said, I did want to just pay respects to two things of Future World West past, which we have lost. Not for sure if this is permanent, but regardless, the Art of Disney, and of course, Club Cool, and the infamous Beverly.
I think Club Cool is gone for good.
Really?
I don't see it coming back because they can charge you for Beverly at the Coke store in Disney Springs.
What? They actually charge you for it there? You can buy like full-size Beverly's?
I don't think so, but the logic is, I mean, I know you can get like drinks with it in there, like
Beverly's Revenge.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's got it in there, but with the way that things are going, I honestly don't see Disney. I don't see a world where Disney's like, we're gonna do free stuff like that again.
Which is so depressing. Oh my God,
yeah.
soda.
That's a very like cynical take, but
did you hear that so unintentional pun?
That was a good one.
I also, speaking of Club Cool, Caleb heard a rumor, and I'm going to try to remember as best as possible, that they're slowly removing all traces of the Fanta Melon Frosty from the parks. Because Club Cool closed, they don't obviously provide it to that anymore. And then he heard that they are going to take it out of Skipper Canteen as well as the Coke store at Disney Springs eventually.
Oh, that's weird.
Which kind of even plays more into the fact that maybe Club Cool is gone for good.
Yeah. It's weird because that's not, I mean, like, it's not exclusive to, like, Club Cool. Like you said, they have it at Skipper Canteen and stuff like that. So it's weird that they would pull it, but I can see it. I can definitely see it.
Which sucks, because that was, like, one of the best ones. Like, at least I could have taken some comfort in knowing that I could just, hop over to the Coke store. But I guess now I'll have to go all the way to Atlanta and go to the World of Coke. Which, who wants to go to Atlanta? Not me.
I concur.
Although they do have the Void there. Did you guys know that?
I did not.
I knew they were expanding it, but I didn't know where it had made its way out to yet.
And it has the Avengers one, which obviously is not at Disney Springs. So I'm just like coming to terms with the fact that I'm going to have an Atlanta trip soon. Anyone who has been to Atlanta, I think, understands my
am I supposed to weigh in
animosity.
on this?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I've been to Atlanta a lot. Obviously, probably not as much as you have because you actually used to live in Georgia, but I've been to a lot of shows there, and I've done like all of the touristy stuff you're supposed to do in Atlanta. And
the touristy stuff.
It's just like, it's a city that has so much to offer and so many cool things, but the vibe of it, I feel like, and like everyone, like no one knows how to drive there. I'd say the only people that can drive worse than Atlanta is Orlando.
Yep. Have you been to the Georgia Aquarium?
I have. I love it. I haven't been in a long time, probably like 7 or 8 years or more, but that's one of the things that's on my trip. And the zoo is cool too.
Oh, I was gonna say too. Yeah, those were like our two big things that we really like to do. The zoo more so than the aquarium because it's so much cheaper, but both of them are really good.
Yeah. I just wish they were all in a different city. What can I say?
Yeah.
Sorry if anyone listening lives in Atlanta, but chances are if you live in Atlanta, you understand where we're coming from anyway. So there you have it, our little wrap up of Future World West. Do you guys have anything that I missed? Anything that you wanted to add?
I don't know. I think this side, it's weird because this side is loaded with the better attractions for me. Mm-hmm. But I can easily see how someone could argue for the other side of Future World. And it's weird that both sides cater to the same audience, but very different audiences at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that.
Because, I mean, at least with this side, this is like more of the dark ride attractions and stuff like that, whereas the other side is more the thrilling stuff, especially with Guardians of the Galaxy coming soon.
So
I do definitely agree with you, though. West is better.
Yeah.
And this episode will become dated relatively soon because it will then, instead of being Future World East and West, will be World Discovery and World Nature. So
yeah, I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about that.
Though
I will say,
I don't like saying it. Like, it felt weird coming out of my mouth.
I'm still going to call it Future World East and West. The only thing is, I think it'll be a lot easier to call it that once the Interventions Pavilion is gone, because that really did split the sections up. I think if Disney goes about it the right way and they like establish the boundaries on them, it'll be so much easier to be like, oh, I know where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, if they touch the land pavilion, I will be very mad.
I will chain myself to it.
It's weird because like I really do like the seas. I really do like the back half of it. Finding Nemo, whatever. But like the actual aquarium part of it is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I think of all of the pavilions, the one that I enjoy the most is the land. And if they did anything besides bringing Soren back, and putting something worthwhile in the theater, I would be very angry.
Yeah.
More so if they did anything to live in with the land.
Oh yeah,
definitely. It's like one of the few things that we still have left of edutainment currently, I guess. But hopefully with the new stuff that they're adding, it seems like they're adding more edutainment elements in there. So
real quick, there's this thing that happened on Twitter recently that I want to poll you guys on. When you ride around on the land, when you ride on Living with the Land, do you see people in the lab? Like, apparently there's a very large demographic of people that have never seen anybody in that lab.
Oh yeah, I've seen people in there a lot.
Apparently there's a lot of people that are like, I've never seen a single person in there. And I'm like, no, I've always seen someone in there.
Yeah.
It definitely hasn't been every time for me, but I feel like most of the times there's someone in there.
Okay, I'm glad that I'm not like crazy because I was seriously starting to think that something was wrong. 'Cause, one of these big theme park journalists put out a tweet and was like, I don't think I've ever seen anybody in there. And then like a whole bunch of people were like, oh yeah, I've seen people. And then there was like a very large portion of people that were like, I've never seen people. So I was like, oh, okay.
Interesting.
Well, that fell a lot more flat than I thought it would. So, okay.
Sorry,
Yeah,
no, Mario, I've never seen anyone ever in the lab.
That's okay. You don't have to lie. my bit fell flat here. It's okay. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say other than if they change the land pavilion, I will chain myself to Living with the Land.
I'll be there with you.
Yep. I do have one fun question for you guys as well regarding Living with the Land. One time I was on it semi-recently, and the boat in front of us was like lopsided. And I don't think that it was like a weight distribution thing. It was like very obviously tilted heavily to one side, but the people on it all looked like, you know, they were evenly weighted. And I was like, oh no, could this be the next thing?
Huh. Please don't let it be the next thing.
I hope not. But yeah.
And that's going to do it for us this week. Thanks for joining us again on another episode of the Station 71 podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts from. If you want to get in touch with us, you can send us an email at station71podcast@gmail.com or find us online at www.station71podcast. We hope you enjoyed your ride, and we'll see you real soon.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.